take to radio, the remix in your soul. Indie beats and killer comedy, taking control. Got that rhythm, got that wit, a perfect blend from the start of the show till the very end. Spinning tracks you never thought you'd find.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Take Two Radio, the remix. I'm Pam, your host, and I'm here with Anthony. Would it be anybody else? Nope.
The one, the only Anthony Corona.
That's right. That's right. And today he's going to be singing a song of, no, I'm only kidding. We are going to leave that up to our guest. Our guest is an artist who reminds us that the best songs don't just entertain, they tell stories that stay with us. As a singer-songwriter, he's built his career on authenticity, drawing from life's highs, lows, and everything in between to create music that resonates on a deeply personal level. His songwriting blends heartfelt lyrics with memorable melodies, and his performances reflect a genuine passion for connecting with audiences one song at a time. Whether he's in the recording studio, on stage, or putting pen to paper for his next project, he continues to prove that honest storytelling never goes out of style. We're excited to learn more about the creative journey that's brought him here today. So please welcome Nathan Mattingly to Take Two Radio, the remix.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, batter up.
You're very welcome. We are so excited to speak with you today and learn more about you. There's a lot out there that you've done. So let's just go back kind of to the beginning. I read that as a kid, you couldn't decide whether you wanted to be a pitcher for the Mets or a Jedi. So somewhere along the way, music entered the picture. What
Oh, it
happened
sure
there?
did. Yeah, I don't know. I was torn between a lot of things, but they all sort of coalesced for me eventually. Um, yeah, music was sort of always a part of my life growing up. I grew up in a very musical family. My father's a really talented piano player. My mother's a very talented singer. My brother's a great jazz saxophone player, and so we were all sort of playing and singing around the piano quite young. My parents were both church musicians. That's how they met, which is also thematically reflected in a fair amount of my work. Um, but it was just sort of a staple of my life. My father was my first music teacher. He taught me piano at age 5. And I learned piano for many years until I got to those teenage years where you really don't want your father to be your teacher. Uh,
Yes.
my small act of rebellion was that I didn't want to take piano lessons anymore, which now as an adult musician I'm like, really could have stuck
Right.
with that one a little longer. But yeah, I picked up a guitar around 11. Thanks, my dad had one lying around. He used to play that as well. But it was a mix of him, uh, some old like folk albums that we used to listen to, like Pete Seeger's Folk Songs for Young People, and this traveling children's musician named Jim Valley, who randomly came through our town and our school once, and we hosted him at our house while he was on the trip, and so those were all sort of early influences in me picking up guitar and really falling in love with that instrument. Uh, Also played the oboe for a while in school and in band and orchestra, and sing in some choral groups and music scenes around the city.
Well, with things like American Idol and X Factor, every once in a while, someone wakes up on a Tuesday and decides they want to be a pop star, and 6 months later are. But for most musicians, there's that period of life where life demands something else of you, and your music is demanding your life. So sometimes the best and funniest stories come out of that period. What do you cling to? What do you remember the most about sort of living the dual life of working towards becoming the full-time musician and doing all the rest of life that needs to get done?
Yeah, it's been wild. I've I've done so many things in New York to sort of keep the art dream alive. when I moved here, I was a scenic carpenter for a bunch of years. I built theater sets, I built private event sets. I worked on the Met Gala's carpentry for a couple of years. Um, I bartended. I did odd jobs. I've ended up with, random other part-time work through friends, and then acting has provided some money. Music has provided some money, but it's sort of always uh, the struggle, of making ends meet as an artist in the biggest city in the world by some metrics. Um, but I don't know what the how do I, sorry, you were asking what some of the like the funny stories from that time are, right? Yeah.
You gave us some of the jobs, which is cool. And I do have to throw in there, I would imagine the Met Gala is one that is full of security, and you didn't get to see Madonna or Rihanna or any of the mega stars that we're all used to seeing.
Oh yeah, no. Well, yeah, doing Met Gala carpentry for a couple of years through the company I was working with, doing scenic work. It was wild, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I can't say that I saw anybody there, for sure. I did have an odd interaction. A great time working that job once when we were putting in the set, and Anna Wintour is runs the Met Gala and was there working on seating charts or something, and had somebody adjusting some lighting, and my boss called me over to stand on a stage and just stand there and be a lighting stand-in so they could look at what the lighting looked like. And Anna Wintour walked over, looked at it, approved it, looked up at me, turned to my boss, who was a random carpenter, and said, he could be a model, and then walked away, which was very
Oh,
flattering and confusing because I was like, well, you have the power to do that. You could just make that happen.
right?
But alas, in another life for that one.
You will build no more. Stand and look pretty.
Oh, if only for
Right?
for for 5 seconds I thought, oh wow, a career change, but no.
Yeah. Oh
That
my
was a good one.
gosh.
Thank you for that.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, I interviewed a singer-songwriter many years ago who said he had no plan B,
Mm.
meaning music was it and he was going to make it, period. So, was there ever a moment during those years, besides almost being a model, that made you think, I have to keep going? This is worth the struggle?
Um, definitely. I absolutely have that experience. I do think that for me, I've sort of recontextualized what plan Bs look like because sometimes there are good times, there are hard times when art is your main hustle, and I think that I used to feel a lot of pressure to always be generating income to turn this storytelling into what's paying the bills. And while I'm very thankful when that is the case, I think that I reached a lot of peace in something that I tell a lot of the kids that I mentor when I'm working with an art mentorship program, which is you have to separate your identity as an artist from your source of income, because if all that drives you is how will I make money off of this, you can absolutely do it, and many people have, and many people will continue to, but it definitely forces your hand creatively. And so I don't think there's ever been a plan B, um, in that like I've never thought about hanging up my hat, and giving it up.
Hmm.
But there have been times when I've had to pick up other work, absolutely, and that doesn't, and I've never let that diminish my focus on the storytelling aspect, on what the work is. So yeah, the thing that really keeps me going is that I've never felt that I'm the best. I'm not trying to be humble, but the most talented guitarist. I'm not flat picking like Billy Strings or something, and I'm not singing like I don't know, Dolly Parton or Brandy Carlisle or any of the most talented vocalists out there. I play well and I sing well, but it's really about the story for me, and telling it to people and connecting with people. And so whether I'm singing to a big crowd or 15, 20 people at a bar, um, I just find it so fulfilling, like really speaking to them, really, really singing what those songs are about and watching it land, watching people really listen. And I've had people approach me after shows and just talk about, maybe a specific song or a specific lyric that really, moved them, jumped out to them, made them cry, or made them think about, an experience in their life and their childhood, and watching it recontextualize some part of their life for them, and watching them take that forward into their life is so deeply fulfilling. I found the same kind of fulfillment when I did more acting work around the city too. When you really have a performance, big or small, that connects with somebody, it's electric. There's nothing like watching someone else in real time be changed in a small way by something that came out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it depends on the song, but if you think about, I know this happens to me. I'll be listening to a whole album, and then that one song hits that just like tears at your heart because it brings back memories, whether they're good or bad, and you're
Absolutely.
missing somebody or whatever, and then just sit there bawling my eyes out. And, my kids are looking at me like, wait a minute, aren't you listening to music? Yeah, you don't understand yet, but you will
Yeah,
someday.
one day you'll realize.
Right, exactly. There's so much more than just the beat of the music. So, um, with your career, you do songwriting, you've done
Hmm.
theater and composing and all that. It's the same form in many ways, but in other ways it's not. What did you learn, if anything, about doing each one of those, the different parts of it?
Um, I guess I learned that so much of it is the same or is transferable. I used to view my career as very fragmented. I thought I'm an actor and I'm a musician and I'm a songwriter, and but I'm not like a traditional triple threat musical theater actor. Is what I thought at the time. Now I see there are plenty of musicals out there, Once or Hadestown, with folk instrumentation where things make sense. But I saw friends coming out of these really strong musical theater programs, and I was like, that's not the kind of acting I'm doing. I did 7 years of Shakespeare when I moved to New York, and I loved it. But I was like, oh, that's separate than music. And then I had a Shakespeare company. There's a lot of music in Shakespeare, and I had a company cast me in a role that sang, um, and they were like, "There's no plan for the music. Can you just write something for it?" And Shakespeare wrote the lyrics, but I set it to a tune, and I was like, "Huh, that was easy for me. Interesting." And then I started doing it for that theater company on an ongoing basis, whether I was in their productions or not. When they had a piece of music, I would compose the music or arrange the piece for them, and I thought, wow, something about this is fulfilling. Something about this is easy for me. And it took me a number of years after that to turn back to. I had been writing songs the whole time. I've been, notebooks and notebooks full of my own material that I wasn't really performing anywhere. I was just writing them and saying, oh, these are for me. And if I put these out in the world, it'll confuse people. At the time I was really trying to, quote, make it as an actor, whatever that means. Uh,
Hmm.
and I thought that it would, dilute my brand or something. You learn all these things in school about like your brand as an artist and how to market yourself, which is important. But it took me a while to realize that really the most interesting thing is the most complete picture of you. And so I am this musician, I am this songwriter. I should incorporate all these things together. If they're all coming to me, if they're all part of what I'm doing and how I'm spending my time and how I express myself, why would I, conceal any part of that?
Pam and I are huge soap opera fans, so I would say that it sounds like your aha moment or the merging of all the dissociative identities came when you figured out I'm a storyteller. I'm an
Yes.
artist through storytelling.
100%. That's 100% it. I'll bring you back to your opening, Pam, about how I didn't know if I wanted to be a Jedi or a pitcher for the Mets. The aha was that all of it was all the same. All of it had always been the same. I shocked some people in my life when I graduated college and I said, I'm moving to New York and I'm going to be an actor, or even when I was acting in college, they were like, where did this come from? What aspect of this, we never realized this was a thing you were interested in, a part of your life. But everything I've always latched onto has been storytelling, like I didn't actually want to be a pitcher. I realized, like, I didn't I was a fine baseball player, but I was never that rigorous about practice because I was daydreaming about what it would be like to be, to make it pro, and I was fantasizing and living that life and writing those stories on paper or in my head. I was a huge Star Wars super fan, and I was captured by the stories. And when I played with Legos as a little kid with my brother, he wanted to build massive structures, and then when we finished, tear it down and build it again. And once we built it, I was like, well, what about the people who live there? Like, what are they doing? What's their little story? And it's just all been the same. Yeah, to me, I don't see, acting. The only difference between my acting work and my music work is that in the music, by and large, it's my story, and in acting work, it's someone else has written the words, but I'm still, imbuing it with my
Pieces of who you
experience.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've written some very deeply personal music, but you've also written music to serve the larger story. Can you share an example of a story-driven piece of music that you wrote, what you were hoping the audience would come away with, and if you feel it hit the mark?
Yeah, a story-driven piece of music. Do you mean one of mine?
Yeah,
Mhm.
one of yours.
Yeah, I wrote a song that won't unfortunately be on the upcoming EP, but it's slated for a future album project, probably next year. So huge, long range teaser there. But I wrote a song called Abraham and Isaac, that
Oh.
is, uh, on its face, and when I pitch it at a show, I say that it's about the biblical story of Abraham and Isaac. And I'll speed run the audience through a very, very short version of what that tale is in case they're not familiar. But I mean, are you guys familiar?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Pam?
I'm not sure if once you start telling it, then I think I'll
Sure.
probably kick in.
Yeah, the speed run I take my concert audience on, just in case that Christianity's not their upbringing, their background. I don't want to alienate anyone with it, so I keep it light and fun. But it's the short version of the story is that God had a jealous boyfriend moment and said, Abraham, do you love me? And Abraham said, yeah, of course. And God said, okay, prove it. And Abraham said, okay, how? And God said, take your son up a mountain, tie him to a rock, and kill him. And Abraham said, yeah, that's great. Let's do it. I'll
Mhm.
do it. Uh, and they go, and God stops them and all that. And it was held up in my upbringing, in a very, very religious community and family, as like this ultimate testament to faith and the supreme act of faith that it would be for Abraham to do that. But I distinctly remember sitting in church pews as a kid thinking, wow, it must have really stunk to be Isaac. What a terrible hardship. But so I wrote a song that's, in some ways about that. There's a verse of it that's about that, but it's really expanded outward for me into a reflection on um, generational trauma and violence, and how I find, even as somebody who lives at the intersection of a lot of privileges, I am a white man in 2026. I am not in extreme poverty. I have a pretty nice life. Um, but and by all accounts, systems of patriarchy and traditional masculinity, I should have no issue with them. They should be serving me. But it's even when you're at that intersection, when you start to identify the ways that it has, that a traditional masculine upbringing and boys don't cry mentality um, really limits you and affects your emotional development and affects your relationship building with your friends, with your family, with your father. Um, it's hard to unsee it. And so it's a song that I wrote about my relationship to masculinity and to parents. And it's about Abraham and Isaac. And it's a sort of an open question for the audience. I like to
Mhm.
not answer the question, but it's an
Mhm.
open question for the audience. uh, of if this is good for them, or if they're living in the same sort of repressed cyclical experience, whether it's actual violence or just, the ways that that limits you, and asking them, does something have to change?
What
Um,
does it feel inside? It's almost like a choose your own musical adventure.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And some people, I'm sure it's not the target song for them, but when I find that for me, the reward and why so much of my music is so specific is that the reward is in extreme specificity. If I tell you a real and raw experience from my life, and I can dress it up in some poetry and some music, but if I really share that kind of vulnerability about a specific experience that I've had, whether you've had the same experience or not, you will often relate your own similar experience to it, and you'll say, "Oh,
Right.
that's just like when I had, this other experience." And so I find that while not everyone connects to the song, when people connect to it, they really connect to it. I have a lot of people, a lot of men approach me after my concerts, and they say, I grew up in a evangelical religious setting, and I grew up in a boys don't cry household. I grew up with a difficult relationship with my father, or some figure in my life, and and they just tell me, people just tell me these stories about their lives and what that song meant to them, or um, how they think about those relationships now. And I never take it for granted. I think it's easy now to be like, oh, my song didn't go viral, or my TikTok didn't get, a million views.
Yeah.
No record label is reaching out about it tomorrow to be like, oh, we need to buy it and put you on the label. But like, the fact that I can play a show, and real human beings can come up to me and say, hey, this fundamentally affected me, this changed some part of my life. It's incredible. It truly is awe-inspiring that like something I sang at you has made you think about your relationship to your father differently. Like what do you mean? That's amazing to me, and I don't know, I'll try to never take it for granted.
I absolutely love that you touch people's lives like that, that they feel enough and connect with you so much and your music that they can walk up to you and tell you their story.
As a
You
gift.
probably have changed so many people's lives, whether you know it or not.
I hope so. I mean, I used to worry that that sort of thing was like facetious or something, or to be like, oh, or self-important. But when you see it happen enough times, no matter how small the change is, you realize that that is, at least for me, that's the whole goal. Like, I'm writing these things. I've had these experiences, and it's taken me this long to figure out what I know about myself, about my experience, my one, short and beautiful human life. And if I can sing that to you and give you a head start on any of those issues that I've spent so much time wrestling with, if you can, skip ahead, why wouldn't I want you to, see how much further
Absolutely.
someone else can go when they're starting
Yeah.
from that place where I landed.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. That's amazing. And by the way, I did know that story, just wasn't sure what you were going to say. So
Mm,
I wasn't going to lie and say I know what you're going to talk about. So,
fair.
but
You know, I'm going to share this with you real quick. In my former career, before I lost my eyesight, I was the East Coast entertainment editor for the Associated Press. And
Oh
I got to
wow.
sit down with Ann and Nancy Wilson of Heart. And, I threw a question, so many of your songs have touched so many people. I don't remember the exact wording, but basically they both stopped and they like looked at each other and like grinned. And
Mm,
Anne was, I'm a huge fan of Etta James, and I had the privilege of meeting her when we were first starting out. And she said, your songs, for every one person you see that it touched, there are thousands more. Never
yeah,
phone it in. Every time you sing Barracuda, sing it with the intention you wrote it with, because there are thousands that are connecting, and that's a taste of what you're getting when folks are coming up to you and sharing their personal, if they feel comfortable enough to share an experience from their life like that, you hit the mark that night.
yeah.
definitely. It's beautiful, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it gives me the chills. In a good way. Collaboration has been a big part of your journey. Is there someone who challenged you creatively and helped you grow into the artist you are today?
Definitely. I think sort of every artistic collaborator I've ever worked with has left a fingerprint on me in some way. Right now, I'm getting a lot out of my relationship with my producer and recording engineer, Irving Godowery. I mean, he's a really brilliant engineer, but he also has some incredible production ideas that I really want him to share with me. And he's really put his mark on this EP that's coming. Um, it's I think that art and music making could be such a lonely experience. There's some brilliant people who make what we'll call bedroom pop, where they're, self-producing alone in their room, and they're brilliant, and I'm in awe that they can do that. But I get so much out of the collaborative experience that I need to be in the room with someone else. Maybe that's the actor in me, but I couldn't imagine doing it alone. It feels like infinite choices in music and no right answer, until you stumble into it. And it's so much easier to generate those ideas and find what those right ideas are for you when there's someone else in the room with you. Either their idea is brilliant and you want to run with it, or something in you, knows that their idea is wrong and doesn't serve the story you're trying to tell, and then you become more confident about your idea. Or if you don't like your idea, but then you also don't like their idea, then you just know that the two of you either need to pull on a third person or you need to keep hunting. I brought in a friend of mine and a brilliant percussionist, Granville Mullings Jr., to play percussion on a couple tracks on the EP. Because I have rhythm and I can play a shaker and a cajon, but my ideas in rhythm aren't that complex the way that they are on guitar or lyrically. And I really wasn't finding what I needed. And we said, Irving wasn't either. And we said, why don't we call Granville? We brought him in, and he just, he was an infinite font of brilliant ideas. And I felt I've been relating it as I felt like I was the music king sitting on my music throne saying, play your ideas for me. And I would just hear them and they're all brilliant. And I would say, no, not that, not that. And then he played something and like I lit up. Like he was playing to the rough mix. He was layering his part right over the rest of the part into the room. And I was just smiling uncontrollably, like wearing the monitor headphones, and I was like, I'm having this unconscious, like unstoppable response of like pure unbridled joy. I was like, this has to be it. And I didn't know, I couldn't have told you that it was going to be that instrument or that rhythm, but when I heard it, it just slotted into place. It was like a puzzle piece revealed itself that I didn't know existed, and it was electric. And to have those experiences, I'm so grateful for, and I couldn't have them without collaborators like these guys.
Really feel the magic. I don't think solitary. I'm a writer, and that
Yeah.
fills all of the solitary part. But there's, I need collaboration. I need the bouncing of ideas, and often the best ideas don't come as a marriage between two ideas, but there's something that sprouts out of trying to find that marriage, and then this completely different space we never even thought about shows
Yes.
up.
And
Yeah.
then you run away with that, and it's so much more exciting than where you
Oh
thought
my
you were
God,
going.
yeah. So let's go back to younger you for a second when you were still pitching balls and choreographing lightsaber fights. The creative life itself, what is something that has turned out to be completely different than you had imagined it would be?
What is different? Uh, I mean, so much. I think that I definitely romanticized the idea of being a storyteller, of being this, musician or actor or whatever. And I think that while so much of it is beautiful and rewarding, so much of it is just strictly business. And
Yeah.
you have to really lock in for that part of it, or else you won't find yourself in the rooms where you get to tell your stories. And that's not a bad thing. It's neither here nor there. It's just that's how it is. I would love if we were all, in other than like, modern medicine and so many other things I enjoy. I would love to be cavemen sitting around the fire, taking turns, singing songs, telling stories.
Mhm.
But in the world that we're in, um, you have to have the business acumen. You have to be able to find bookers and venues and bills that are right for you and your genre. You have to be able to make those emails, those cold calls, meet people in rooms, be personable, make connections, and not just like, business connections of like, oh, I'm a musician, play my music, but like real. I found so many opportunities in New York via building just real friendships with other musicians.
Yeah.
It's taught me so much about music. It's given me so many wonderful friends, and it's given me so many opportunities to play shows or work with people, and just being open to saying yes to those opportunities, collaborating with other musicians, collaborating on theater projects, as an actor or as a musician. It just opens doors if you're willing to say yes to it. And I didn't, I sort of had a more elementary view of it, and I thought, if you're a successful actor, you're a movie star, and if you're a successful musician, you're selling out tours and, recording, dozens of albums, and you're on the radio. And who's to say that any of that isn't in the cards? But I realizing that there's so much more of a rich life on the way there, and
Mm.
so many other angles and things you can do with this, whether it's the songwriting for theater or small venues or, collaborative projects, along the way, that it's all your life. I think younger
Mhm.
me, here's the real crux of it, I think, is that younger me thought that my life was going to be a checklist of things I had to accomplish, things I had to learn, and merits I had to win to get to the life of being that successful artist. And what I learned along the way is that it's all life, like every step
Mhm.
along the way. You
Yeah.
can't, it's not just the waiting room for what's coming next. It's
Yeah.
what you're doing right now. And this is the richness right now. Enjoy it, live in it, write about it.
Life is what happens while you're waiting for it to start. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Exactly. And I think that is probably the biggest thing that people discover when they get into any type of entertainment, is the business side. And things are not always just handed to you on a silver platter. You have to
absolutely.
work and work very
Absolutely.
hard and make connections. It's even like, just like for our podcast. I don't, call up somebody, say, "Oh, I want to interview Nathan Mattingly. So let me make a call, and they'll tell me yes and what date and what." It's not
Hmm.
like that. It's a whole thing, before you get
Absolutely.
there. If you even get in touch with that person's manager, you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
that's a whole thing. You have to work really hard for it. And that is what I respect for you guys, because the ones that really feel it and deep down in their soul that that's something you need to do, and you continue to work for it, and you get pleasure no matter where you are in that time.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's the key. I think sometimes is that I just, you have to do it, Uh, there are uh, there are business steps along the way that are fine. I love meeting people. I really don't mind booking shows. I view that as opportunities to, show off my talented friends to other people. I'm so excited to put other people on a bill, and I don't mind coordination. I don't mind show plots, all the business backside of like before you can play at a venue, what you have to
Hmm.
do. And I don't mind audition processes in acting. I think that, they're their own fun acting journey to themselves. But there are other things that, I'm still learning to love, like social media content creation. It's fun, but it takes so much time,
Oh,
to
yeah.
do, and there's
Absolutely.
only so much time in the day. So I'll go through periods of just thinking, oh, there's too much to do. There's not enough time. I feel the clock ticking, but I can't not,
I
I can't not
understand.
do it. And so
Yeah.
if there's something in me that is like, we're gonna tell these stories one way or another. So sit down, do the work, lock in.
Exactly.
It's not an
Yeah,
option to not do it.
no, it isn't. Exactly what I do every single day. I make sure I post at least once,
Mm, yeah,
to keep
Yeah.
people interested in whatever you're trying to uh, promote, like these interviews and stuff like that. You've got to keep your social media going. You've got to continue to make those connections, whether it is on social media or in person.
yeah.
You Yeah, otherwise you're like, who's going to be left to listen? So,
Absolutely. And you can take a jaded view of it where you're like, oh, we got to play the algorithm, we got to hustle. But I like to whenever I'm feeling worn out about it, I remind myself that those are, by and large also real people. Like, and that you are,
hmm
it's a
Yeah.
hmm
it's a brilliant opportunity to be able, we're unprecedented times that we can connect with real people anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, on these platforms. And it's
yes,
it's easy to lose
Yeah.
yourself in follower numbers or view numbers, but every single person who responds to your material online is a real person who has taken the time or the interest in you to read what you're writing, to listen to what you're singing. It's
yeah,
amazing. It's
it
crazy.
truly is. It truly is. I'm going to ask you my last question, and I'm going to make it simple. Well, then again, it may not be simple, but we'll see. Which song is closest to your heart or your favorite out of all the ones you've written?
Oh, you said it was going to be simple.
I said, and
Oh,
maybe
that
not.
that's
Well, you
tough.
have children. You know this question
That's
can't truly
tough.
be answered.
Oh dear. What is my favorite song that I've written? Um, that's that's so hard. I'm
Or
gonna answer it.
closest to your heart,
Yeah,
because that's a difference there too.
I'm gonna answer it in so many ways. I'm gonna cheat, and I'm gonna give you like
Okay.
three answers.
All
Um,
right.
um, I think in some ways the most recent song I've written is always my favorite. I think that there's when you write something that you're really happy with, which for me that process is um, not as structured as it should be. I know a lot of writers who sit down, at 10 in the morning or something. We write for 2 hours, and no matter what, and I'll do writing sessions and I'll generate ideas, and I've got notebooks full of them. But for me, the work that I'm happiest with comes as like a divine thunderbolt at any time
Mhm.
of day or night. I'll wake up at 3 in the morning with just like a piece of text crystallized in my brain of like the way to express something I've been trying to say. And I get up and I grab a notebook and I have to start writing right then because it feels like I'm like translating some sort of, I don't know, yeah, divine or otherworldly message. I sound crazy talking about it, but I've talked about my writing process as being an exorcism before of the ideas in there. And it's like
Mhm.
agitating me and I have to get it out. And so I get it out on
Yes.
the page. And then when it's right, you feel the
Yes.
frustration when you have to keep going. And then there's this thing that clicks for me in my brain when I phrase it correctly or when I get the full thought out and I say, yes, that's it. And there's something magnetic about that that pulls me back to it. And I've just finished that newest one that feels like that has that magnetic pull to it, it's all I want to play. It's all I want to sing. Um,
Yeah, I understand that. It's like, Anthony being a writer, I think he understands that. But I have written poetry.
yeah.
I haven't done it for a while, but I only write it when that exact thing that happened to you at 3 in the morning, all of a sudden I'll get this line in my head and it makes a connection with my heart. And I
hmm
have to sit there and I have to write it until it feels exactly what I want to say.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly
Yeah.
that. I
Billy
think.
Joel, who has written some, beyond pop, I mean, he's written scores and movie
hmm
scores, and he's done some incredible work in music itself. He spoke about this very thing once, or probably many times, but said, there have been songs where it's a song, it's good, but it's not what was in my heart. It's not what I needed. And months will go by, and I'm in the middle of writing something else, and I drift into that song, and that one moment happens. And it might
hmm
be one phrase, but it's the one phrase that needed to hook that song to what was in my soul that needed to come out.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we all contain that. I think the practice of being an artist is learning to listen to it as much as possible and setting up a lifestyle where you're prepared to be that conduit. But I think
Yeah.
every single person contains a brilliant song, a brilliant story, a brilliant poem. It's we're all living the same sort of human existence. It's in there for all of us.
Wow. So we timed this interview to coincide with the release of the EP. So tell us about it.
Yeah, I'm recording my debut EP right now. I've been performing live for years, but recording is just this other beast. Because I'm a folk musician, it's so easy to just grab a guitar and play live solo, just me and the guitar and my stories. But I've had an itch to get the music out there, both to talk to more people, to get more people listening, but also just to explore what it can be. I had a brief studio experience, not really like a full production, but just a live recording. I had a song that I wrote after the last election, the night of the last election. It certainly didn't go viral, but caught a fair amount of attention online, and it was the usual the TikTok clamor that was very moving to be on the receiving end of just people relentlessly commenting, when will this be on Spotify? When will this be on Spotify? I need to listen to this. I need to send this to my pastor. I need to send this to my dad. Um, and so I met up with an engineer and I just recorded one live take of it and put it out there. And I'm very grateful for that experience. And I felt like the most important thing was to deliver a raw version of this to the people asking for it as fast as I could, before the moment passed, before they didn't want it anymore, before they didn't need it anymore. But since that experience, I can't quite shake the idea of like, okay, but we could do so much more. Like, what can you do with all these tools, and what can it be fully orchestrated? Not an orchestra, but with other instrumentation, with a band, with whatever I hear, in my head and in my heart about the song. And so I got in the studio with Irving, and it's been an amazing process of generating on these 5 songs. And it's got me hungry to do more, honestly, as I can't wait to, I'm excited about this and I can't wait to put it out and I can't wait for people to hear what we've been cooking. But I also, I'm already looking forward to the next project. I want to
That's an
jump on
artist.
the next EP or the next album. And I have such a back catalog of songs now that I've never worried about because I play them all, I rotate through them live. But now I'm like, oh, I'm recording these 5. I gotta put more of them out there. Some of my favorite songs aren't on this EP. Some of my favorite
Right?
songs are on this EP, but there's so many more that what else could we do? What else could I explore? How else could it sound? Yeah,
So
I
is
just can't
this
wait.
a snapshot EP or is it a story told in chapters?
I don't think that it's a linear narrative through it. I think it's got some thematic ties. I think it's a snapshot of um, some of the first work that I was performing in New York that I'm really enamored with, but it's also I write a lot, as we already talked about masculinity and patriarchy and um, the sort of ripple effects of that on growing up being socialized as in traditional rural, conservative, religious, upstate, masculinity, that sort of thing. Um, and it's not entirely divorced from, but isn't quite the same as one of my other major themes is Christianity. And I grew up in a very Christian house, and I have absolutely, I still identify as a Christian in a lot of ways. But there's been, if I can be serious for a minute, there's been a real slide in the last few years towards something that we'll call Christian nationalism or extremism. There are people who are really wielding a lot of this text and a lot of this, this religion and these communities for harm, which is, if you if you paid attention in Sunday school, is pretty antithetical to what I feel are a lot of the core messages of, love and acceptance and uplifting the poor and the oppressed. And so, sometimes I feel like a bit of like a goody two shoes, church nerd that I'm singing about religion, but I think it's a part of who I am and a part of how I grew up, and it's important to me to find the places that intersects with my life and everybody else's lives, and and sometimes to call out some of this stuff that I see as more harmful, pretty directly. So I would say that this EP is it's tied through with a lot of those um, religious themes about the world right now. There's a song called "The Rapture" on it, which is a direct address to evangelical communities. Who many of my friends growing up and the people that I love are evangelical, and there's nothing wrong with it. But there's a large focus in some of those communities on the rapture and the end times and saving souls rather than anything that's happening right now. And so it's sort of like a conversation, direct address of like, why is this the focus, and what are we missing? What are we missing? And what good could we be doing right? Could you be doing right now? If you zoomed out a little bit and stopped this relentless march towards hell or high water. There's a song on it that is a re-record of that very first live recording I did, which will still be just a guitar and a voice. It's called American White Jesus, which is a direct address about the rise of Christian nationalism. And then there's other stuff that's more personal, but sort of still about this time in my life. There's a very personal track called Coyote Boy on there that I won't, you'll have to listen to know what it's about. And there's a song called Atlas about feeling like you're carrying the weight of the world, and what you're being asked to do, given the state of the world and the conflict that's around us right now, both in the country and internationally, and the world that I feel like some of us feel we're being handed by, not by our parents specifically, but by an older generation, and being told to deal with, the idea that
Buttercup, buttercup. Yeah.
the children will save us, the children,
Yeah.
the kids are all right, they're going to save us. And it's, what is it like to be asked to be the one who's going to put it back together?
As we come to a close, you generously are sharing the first single release from the album. But before you tell us about the song, tell folks where they can go directly to find you, where the EP is going to be, and then introduce the song. Tell us the message, and thank you so much, Pam. This has been a really, really cool interview. So I'm very glad you took the time to sit down with us right before what I hope will be a massive release for you.
Thanks. Thank you so much to both of you. Yeah, people can find it all anywhere you listen to music. It'll be on Spotify, Apple Music, all streaming platforms. It'll also, if you want to purchase it and support live music directly, it'll be on my Bandcamp. But I'm on all platforms as Nathan Mattingly, just my name. Um, and you can also, if you want to keep up with me, you can follow me on Instagram or TikTok at Nathan_Mattingly. I both will talk about my live shows and my releases there, but I also am always putting out little clips of my songs, my writing process. You'll get stuff before it's finished. You'll get random covers when the spirit moves me to play some, anything under the sun, from Boy Genius to Pete Seeger and everything in between.
Oh.
And yeah,
Uh,
oh, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, tell us about the song.
Yeah, the first single off of the EP is "Prodigal Son," which is a song that I wrote, sort of about this reckoning that I have with the people I grew up with, who it's a more nuanced take than I don't like to describe my hometown or my upbringing. While there's some conflicts in what we believe in, or how we view the world, or how we view my future and how I should be spending my time, I don't like to view it as like just a conflict or a thing that I, escaped from or overcame. I think that it's a conversation with people who left an indelible mark on me and who are a part of my life and will be for as long as we're all around. And so Prodigal Son is a song that I wrote that's sort of a conversation with that community and those ideas of it's sort of my anthem of I have moved on from some of this and I'm choosing to leave it behind because it no longer helps me and it no longer serves me. But it's also a reckoning with the fact that I love those people and that place. And while, everything wasn't all perfect sunshine and daisies, that I have love for those people and that I have love for that place and the person that it's made me. And so it's sort of my retelling of the prodigal son story in which the prodigal son will not be returning home.
I'm gonna say, when you are at this stage with the next EP, definitely come back and talk with us. Pam, we had such a good time with Nathan. We're gonna
Yes.
listen to the song and then you'll hear our socials and where you can find us. And we'll be
Well,
back.
before
Go ahead.
before we leave, I have one thing. Nathan, you are performing
Yes,
tonight?
I
You
am.
want
Yes, I'm performing tonight. I'm performing tonight at the Bridge and Tunnel Brewery, and I also have a show upcoming in August, August 12th at the Stone Circle Theater in Ridgewood, in Queens.
Oh, awesome. Staten Island boy here, so I'm familiar with both venues. Have
Awesome.
great shows, and like I said, come back and talk to us when you're dropping the next EP. And
I
everybody
would
out
love
there,
to.
go buy it. Buy the track. Yes, you can stream it, good, but go buy it. Support great artists like Nathan. Here is Prodigal Son.
Well, it's out in the open, and it's anyone's guess. Really, I'd circle around the drain and drown with 1,000 old regrets. It's only half of the story. Prayer makes me whole. Add a thin veneer of fiction, so I sound less miserable. So call me crazy, say I'm lying, curse the devil, take my tongue. Spare the righteous indignation, I ain't your prodigal son. I'm here walking through the fire that burned me back when I was young. I'm a sinner, no one's saving, breathing smoke into my lungs. None of your business, so I gave you mine. Now I half wish I could take it back, but there ain't no turning back time. And I don't want your forgiveness, I don't need your grace. Go ahead and pass your judgment while I'm passing through this place. So call me crazy, say I'm lying, curse the devil, take my tongue. Spare the righteous indignation, I ain't your prodigal son. I'm here walking through the fire that burned me back when I was young. I'm a sinner, no one's saving, breathing smoke into my lungs. But I still love you and you love me too. I can hear it in the silence when we both can't tell the truth. I don't want to upset you, I know that you're not proud of the man that I've become to save that boy from burning down. So call me crazy, say I'm lying, curse the devil, take my tongue. Spare the righteous indignation, I ain't your prodigal son. I'm here walking through the fire that burned me back when I was young. I'm a sinner, no one's saving, breathing smoke into my lungs. And until I hit my end, I'll just keep singing my song to an empty congregation with the heavens up above. Why just set me through that fire? Why'd you burn me up so young? Why'd you set me through that fire? Why'd you burn me up so
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Take Two Radio. That's with the number 2. For Take Two Radio The Remix, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Take Two Radio The Remix, again with the number 2. For all things Anthony and Sunday Edition, go to anthonycorona.com, and that's Corona. Until next time, thanks for listening.